There must be conversation about all the talking heads, all of those who are acting as if they know this and they know that, and they're trying to get you to give your money to them and follow them. They're YouTube leaders. They're debate winners. But what's so amazing is that they have no plan to organize our people for some kind of progressive change, for some kind of progressive difference than what is and has been going on. Many of them just become the new Al Sharptons, the new Jesse Jacksons, the new Farrakhan's. Yeah, Farrakhan's in that list too. Because he ain't busted a damn grape with a sledgehammer in all the years he been around. Let's see, he been around since at least the early 60s, I believe, right? With Malcolm. So here it is 40, 50, 56, at least 56, almost 60 years later. This nigga ain't bust a grape with a sledgehammer. And he ain't gonna bust a grape with a sledgehammer. All he wants is your money, your support to stroke his ego and tell him how much his talk and his fancy words and articulation and speeches, they sound so much like what's in your mind, but it ain't going nowhere. What's amazing is some of these people have the opportunity to reach so many people, but yet they do not do anything with the opportunity to do anything of any real substantial good. Over 1 million people came to Washington, D.C. last year to hear this justice or else. Okay, here we are. Where's the or else? I haven't heard or seen anything about brothers or sisters organizing inside the communities where they live, or even in Chicago for that matter. And Chicago is just as fucked up now as it was before the Million Man March. I was saying long before the Million Man March, if anything, let people gather in their various cities, similar to what happens with Black Lives Matter. And I don't know the full scope on Black Lives Matter, and I don't necessarily support them 100%, but I do appreciate the fact that people get out on the street and make contact with the people and voice their dissent, because they don't have the platforms like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and Louis Farrakhan. They don't have the ability to reach so many people like that. But they are reaching people. And many of our young people are gravitating towards that. So you better take a look at it and see what it's all about. If they're doing some good, do what good you can do with them. If there's some other stuff going on, let's find out what it is. Let's find out what the hidden agenda is and deal with it. Because at the end of the day, it's really almost like everybody has a hidden agenda. And sure, I could be saying this and you think I have a hidden... My only agenda is for us as a people to be free from abuse, from violence, and to be able to live in peace and have the ability to have the things that we need as human beings to exist in this world. Okay? That's my hidden agenda. Okay? I've been a part of different organizations or groups over my time on this planet. And I've tried to do what I thought and felt was right. And feelings ain't always the best gauge, but when you look at the benefit of the things that are done, that's more the ruler for gauging if something is good or if something is bad. In 2014, there was Michael Brown. Was that 2014 or 2015? No, I think that was actually 2015. Yeah, I think that was actually 2014. Michael Brown was murdered in Ferguson, and there was a lot of activity in the streets. People were out in the streets across the country. Some of them Black Lives Matter. I don't know who everybody was. I wasn't necessarily there at different places, but there was definitely a momentum for people to organize, come out in the streets, and voice their dissent. And what happens over that snowballing effect is all of a sudden a cop gets killed, and the media turns their attention on giving sympathy for the families of these police who have been killed in the line of duty, as they call it. What the fuck is the line of duty when our people are being killed randomly every day, yet that's all right? There's no sympathy from the media when it comes to that. But so many of us, and unfortunately a lot of us who are somewhat religious, who have this waiting for some miracle to happen, waiting for some rapture, waiting for some mythical person named Jesus, because there was nobody named Jesus. Okay? Do your homework on it. If you really believe, do your homework on it. Are you scared? Waiting for some supernatural thing to happen. It ain't gonna happen. You could wait from now until the end of time, which is endless, and it ain't gonna happen. There's nobody coming back who lived 2,000 years, over 2,000 years ago. Although they can come back in spirit, okay? Looking like somebody totally different that you wouldn't know who it was. You wouldn't believe who it was. To have all this belief about something and somebody, yet there's people who are amongst us who do things, real things, who say things that could and do make a difference, but yet you'll stand back because you're a Jehovah's Witness, because you part of some Christian church or some Muslim mosque or Moorish Science Temple, and you feel like, or you believe that you can't get involved in what's going on in your communities, yet your children die every day. You may even have been the victim of getting assaulted and getting arrested and being abused by these people who run around talking about their government. They're upholding the law. I'm going to tell you, Donald Trump is going to get in office, and it doesn't matter if I'm wrong after the election, but that's where this country is going. They want to fool putting his face out, talking about upholding the law. And when we look at all these fake laws that have been created, these man-made laws that have been created, most of them are designed merely to make money and to oppress our people. People all over the world want freedom and justice. Just the other day in Turkey, supposedly, maybe there was a coup, maybe there wasn't a coup. Who's in power now? It doesn't matter. The bottom line is people want justice. And as long as people are oppressing other people, there will be dissent and no peace in this world. It's really very simple, because justice is a universal law. Truth is a universal law. Humanity and caring for people is a universal law. That's the manifestation of God seen through the hands of men and women who fulfill those laws. People collecting money every Sunday, and they don't use a penny of it to give back to the community. to open their doors when you got a building, whatever your organization is. You could be a church, you could be a school, you could be a community organization, or you could just be somebody who got a big building. You could have a building and, maybe you want to rent it out. But why not let some people use it who want to do something with our young people, want to teach them something about our history, want to teach something about our culture, want to build business and get us economically educated to be able to handle the various obstacles and everyday situations that go on in our communities around the country, around the world. We put out a call for a new code to be created. And some of those ideas we have talked about since I believe that was maybe December or January of 2014, 2015. We talked about many of the things that people were doing, and we saw where things were moving. People setting themselves up as spokespersons for our community and making themselves the new so-called leadership in our community. Some calling themselves the conscious community, some calling themselves the Kemetic community, some calling themselves the Moorish community, some calling themselves the Hebrew Israelite community, some calling themselves the Christian community, whoever. The bottom line is there has to be a universal standard that makes everyone accountable. And when we say that, we're not just talking about organizations or individuals. We're talking about government also. Everyone must be accountable to the people. If you don't have no love for the people, if you're not showing no love for the people, if you scamming the people, if you taking the people's money and you ain't doing nothing with it, you're a scammer. You will be exposed and you will be punished in whatever form or fashion that may take. There's an entity, and I'm going to say entity because they're called anonymous, and they remain anonymous. Right here, I'm not being anonymous. You know who I am. You see who I am. I like the concept of what they're doing because it helps to protect those who might be in fear of retaliation, because that's real. But yet, once you've done some things in your time on the planet, you grow to the point you have no fear, or maybe you never had no fear. Malcolm was that kind of man. Martin Luther King was that kind of man. Medgar Evers was that kind of man. Huey Newton and a lot of the people who were in the Black Panther Party were those kind of men and women. And of course, let me not forget our sister Assata Shakur, who is in exile in Cuba. But yet, she is not anonymous. That is my point. Many have stood up and stood against the injustices that take place in this country and various parts of this world. There's other people who may not look exactly like us, but I'm sure their history and their roots start with us, because we have been all over this planet. And we are the fathers and mothers of civilization and culture. Excuse me. The Deacons for Defense was brothers who were basically in the South, Louisiana in particular. There's a movie with Forrest Whitaker called The Deacons for Defense. I believe Showtime had put it out. You should be able to find it if you look. A very good movie, and a lot of it is untold history. Just like there's a series called Unsung, and they talk about a lot of the things that you didn't know about groups and entertainers that kind of faded away into the woodwork, so to speak. Or a lot of people might not know about. The Deacons for Defense were like that. They didn't necessarily protest, although they may have been at many protests. But their job and their function was to protect the people, to protect the children, to protect the women, to protect the men, the elderly, the seniors, protect those who weren't able or weren't willing to protect themselves. The whole idea of nonviolence is really a unnatural kind of philosophy, because animals don't usually or I should say nature usually does not go along with nonviolence. There are some animals who run or try to flee because they're in fear. And then there's the Black Panther, who will try to avoid being attacked, being brutalized, but when backed up into a corner, will come out fighting and seek to destroy that which is attacking it, no different than a human being should. Survival It's common sense. It's natural. It's a part of human nature. People should not be in fear of their lives on a daily basis. Our communities are the only ones where so many police exist, not because there's so much crime, and the whole idea of the existence of police is predicated upon having the need for crime in order to exist. If there was no crime, you would need no police. So they must continue to perpetrate the idea that there's so much crime in our communities, in our neighborhoods, that they gotta be there. They gotta be there to protect us from each other. Who is there to protect us from them? Because they have indeed become criminals. And I don't care about this concept of, oh, all of them are not bad. Excuse me. If you put on a uniform and you put on a badge and a gun and you ride around in a police car, you are part of the entity that is causing us pain, that is killing us. The few people who open their mouths and try to make a difference, or have tried to make a difference, because most of them you're not going to hear about, or by the time you hear about them, they're not police anymore. And to say that you exist in this country and you're a good cop, really? You're not a good cop until all of this corruption and all of this murder and injustice that is happening through the hands of the police department and the different law enforcement agencies around this country. You are not going to be good until all that shit is cleaned up. So don't even raise your hand and act like, oh, well, I'm making a difference. You are living in a fucking delusion, period. The new code for our people and for our communities must exist, and it will exist. And nowhere in any of what I'm saying is any kind of threat to anybody on this planet. It's merely an analysis of what's going on and what will eventually happen. You cannot continue to beat a man every day and think that he will not eventually fight back. And eventually become the winner. When you look at boxing, eventually every champ winds up getting taken down eventually.